What we're going to be talking about today is identifying whether you are codependent or you're hyper independent or you are interdependent in your relationship and what each one of those look like. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vibe Viv Relationship Coaching that stands for Vision, Inspiration, Belief, and Empowerment. My name is Vivian, and what I do is I help you heal from toxic relationship heartbreaks, help you redefine who you are, and truly live the life that you desire and the love life that you want. So I want to thank you for coming on. If you're a new follower, a new subscriber, I want to say thank you for coming on and watching. If you're someone who's been following, thank you. I appreciate all the support. So what we're going to be talking about today is identifying whether you are codependent or you're hyper independent or you are interdependent in your relationship and what each one of those look like. So either codependent, interdependent, or hyper independent in your relationship. So each of these things are so important to know because they all stem from our childhood. So a lot of the experience that we have had as kids, young adults, has shaped who we are today, how we function in our relationship, the kind of people we've chose to be in relationships with, all kind of stem from our experiences and how we define love, how we receive love, how we express love, and again, how we receive love, all kind of stem from our childhood experiences that we have had. So the first one I want to start with is codependency and what that looks like in a relationship. What does that mean? And to have that in your relationship. So in a codependent relationship, what we tend to see happening is that whoever is the codependent, again, it's kind of built from childhood, right? So maybe you were the person where you felt like you always had to seek the attention of, your parents, the support system in your life, to seek their attention, to seek their approval in order to feel love and wanted at home or in your relationships. So because you often felt like you had to offer something in order to receive love, you're constantly feeling like you need to get validation from the people in your life. So we see this kind of trickle into where we're now in an adult and we're in relationships. And if you're in a codependent relationship, what we will see tend to happen is that as the codependent, you will kind of suppress your needs, but at the same time meeting your needs, but in a way that it suppresses your needs because you are leaning onto the person who you're with in order to validate your identity, in order to get approval from them, again, in order to feel loved from them by kind of suppressing your own need. So for example, you may go the extra mile to make sure that whoever your partner is well taken care of at the detriment of your own well-being. Even if you don't want to be at a certain function, even if you don't want to, dress a certain way, you may do all those things in order to make your partner, feel good about you. And then when you receive the praise from them, the validation, the love, the comfort from them, you feel loved and wanted. But that's a double-edged sword because you are suppressing your needs while trying to meet their needs in order to also get the validation, support, love that you desire from them. So that's why it's a double-edged sword. I was actually talking to one of my clients and she said something along the lines to me and she was like, Vivian, I can't remember the last time that I went out and did something on my own without my husband. And she honestly meant that. She could genuinely not recall when she's done something for her own self without it being for her spouse, without taking her spouse's needs first and not considering hers. And that hit her really hard because she didn't realize that for the long time she's kind of been codependent on her husband. Because right now she's not working. She's a stay-at-home mom. Not that stay-at-home mom means you're codependent or anything like that. But because of where she's been kind of set up in life, she's been relying a lot of things from her husband and has not been able to be in a place where she's able to fulfill some of her needs, her own needs for herself. And just a simple thing, just as being able to plan an activity or go out or do something for herself, she was not able to do that. And she came to realize that she has been in a codependent relationship. So although in this codependent relationship, some of your needs are being met, such as the validation, love, and support, other parts of your needs are not being met because you are foregoing what you truly desire for yourself at the detriment of yourself in order to meet this other person's need, in order to feel loved and wanted. So it tends to be a toxic cycle. So that's what a codependent relationship looks like. And someone who is a codependent will usually be the one sacrificing themselves in order to sustain the relationship, make the relationship work at the detriment of their own self. And again, this is a survival instinct. It is not your fault. A lot of the things, like I said, that happened in childhood has shaped you to be the way you are right now. And the thing you can do for yourself, for anybody in this situation, is to recognize and realize that you have been codependent. You have been relying on this person to meet your needs at a detriment of yourself. And now it's time to take some accountability of that, to make changes where changes need to be made. And now this is where you can get external support on this, because it's not an easy road, because we're having to now reprogram the things that you normally would do without even second thoughts that have led you to where you're at. So again, I would love to be a support to you if this is where you're at, to help you reprogram so that you're not necessarily repeating the cycles that has led you to being in a codependent relationship. And now the opposite of codependency is hyper-independence. And now, similar to codependence, hyper-independence is also a form of things that have happened from your childhood. So you may be the person in a relationship right now who is like, I don't need anybody to take care of me. I can do things on my own. I'm able to go out at the certain time that I want. I don't have to tell you. I can make my own decisions. I can make my own business moves. I don't need anybody. I don't need you, right? So there are some strengths into that, being hyper independent or super independent, however you want to call it. But we see that that's normally a protective mechanism. So because maybe you have felt like you have been hurt in your past relationships, maybe as a child, you felt like when you reached out, you were rejected, you weren't wanted. Again, similar to the codependent experience, but rather than you feeling like you need to get validation from them, you took the extreme of saying, I don't need anyone, and you can figure it out on your own. So they're both protective mechanisms that have been built up from childhood experiences. So now when a hyper-independent and a codependent comes together, that can be a toxic cycle, because what tends to happen is the codependent is constantly seeking validation from the person who is very independent, and the independent is not willing to give the love, able to let the person in because they fear that they are going to get hurt. So that tends to be a toxic cycle. So yes, it's great to be independent. It's great to have your own things going for you. But again, recognizing when it becomes detrimental to you because you're not able to allow people in, you're not able to express love, you're not able to receive love, again, due to fear of being hurt, due to fear of being rejected. So again, those are both survival mechanisms that have been built up from childhood, and it is not your fault. But the biggest thing is to recognize that you are expressing one of these two things, and then now taking the steps necessary to mitigate how it's negatively impacting your relationships. Because you want to be in a relationship where you can be open, you can be receptive. And now this leads us into where we get the middle ground of codependent and in hyper independent or super independent. And that brings us to interdependence. So that's the middle ground between codependency and hyper independence. So again, the middle ground is interdependent. So with that, what we see is that both parties are able to recognize their emotions, recognize their feelings, and they're able to communicate that. We're able to realize that as much as it's great to, have the support from you, we also have a life outside of our relationships, but it's a healthy balance where I don't feel like I don't need you. So having some sense of dependence within the relationship, but yet also each person having their own things going on for themselves, their own entrepreneurships, their own jobs, their own identity outside of the relationship, but yet still recognizing that they have a mutual understanding, mutual relationships that both parties are working on. So each party is taking accountability for their emotions, they're recognizing their needs, they're being able to express their needs, they're dependent on each other, but yet also are able to do things on their own individually. So that's where we see the middle ground, where we have the codependency and the hyper independence. When those are in a fine middle where it's balanced, we get the interdependence. So that's a healthy middle ground that we want to get to, where we can be in a relationship, function together, but also still have our own identity and not feel like you're responsible to make someone feel happy, not responsible to change someone's behavior, character. That is not your burden. That is not your load to carry. Each person has to be a healthy individual in order to make a relationship work. That is one of the things I often say, and I always stress that. So again, codependency, hyper independence are forms of survival mechanisms that have been built up from childhood. It is not your fault if you're one or the other, but it's to recognize that and take the steps to move forward. And now the middle ground, again, is being able to identify that you're an individual before you came to the relationship, maintain some of your individuality, not taking total responsibility for someone else's happiness, but having a shared mutual goal, shared mutual understanding. That's where we see interdependence come in. So which one do you fall in? Which one does your relationship fall in? Which one do you fall in? So being able to recognize that can help you save you from relationships that are not good for you, and it can help you cultivate healthy relationships for yourself and for whoever you one day meet or you are in a relationship with. So I hope this was helpful to you to be able to identify the differences between codependency, hyper-independence, and the middle ground of interdependence. All right, so share this with someone who you think would benefit from it. And if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and give it a like. And then I would love to see you on my next video. Give a comment too below. And until next time, that's Vibe with Viv.